Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience and waiting for us to get a couple of things sorted out here. Really happy that you've chosen to invest some time with CDW and ThinkOn this morning. We do appreciate it. We'd like to welcome you to the second webinar in the Powering Digital Transformation series. Today's presentation will be presented by ThinkOn. Before I go ahead and introduce our partner that's presenting today, just a couple of housekeeping items to be aware of. Questions throughout the webinar can be added to the Q&A section or the question section in your, I believe it's the bottom right-hand side of your webinar screen. If you're having any technical difficulties, audio, visual, or otherwise, please present those to our team in the chat section of the webinar. And if there's at any point you find something of interest within the webinar or you would like to speak with the ThinkOn team, please engage your CDW account manager and they can direct to wherever it needs to be directed at the time. And as another side note, this webinar will be recorded, and so at request, we can provide you a copy of the webinar. So sit back, folks, and enjoy the presentation by Ken at ThinkOn. A couple of little things I wanted to discuss first. If we can just go to the next slide, guys. Thank you very much. ThinkOn is part of our cloud community, and those of you that were a part of the first webinar with Ring Central will maybe recall that our cloud community is one of 3 pillars that we brought to Canada as part of our international best practices in cloud services. The first of those pillars is Cloud Plan, which is our CDW trademark cloud assessment tool. If you haven't heard about it and like to know more about that, please, again, contact your account manager. We can open that conversation if your company is in the process of trying to plan a transition to cloud. That is a fantastic tool that will allow you to compare all of the public clouds as well as giving advice and suggestions around hybrid solutions, maybe leveraging PaaS as opposed to a lift and shift to cloud, and so on and so forth. And that is conducted by our cloud engineering team in the UK. And the UK as a market is well ahead of us from a cloud services evolutionary standpoint, and so their insights are highly valuable. The second pillar is Cloud Care. Cloud Care is CDW's trademarked, I suppose, answer to a managed service for Azure. There are some beta testings going on for AWS in the US and UK, but not available currently in Canada. But again, it is our managed services for Azure, Cloud Care, and we can, again, talk more about that if and when needed. But the third pillar, and potentially the greatest of all the 3 pillars, is our cloud community. And just like in the traditional CDW world, where we bring the biggest partners and vendors in the IT world to our customer base to basically, try and leverage our power in the market to get you the best price, the best resources, and the best service escalation points, we also do within our cloud services business. And I'm not sure if you've seen or are familiar with many of the logos in that cloud community section there, but you will find that nearly all of the partners we work with internationally and Canadian-based companies like ThinkOn to offer data sovereignty compliance and other compliances within Canada, they are market leaders in the fields in which they serve. And so, again, the cloud community is no different to our traditional CDW solution-based business. Without any further ado, I'm quickly going to go through a couple of the areas that our cloud community covers: cloud connectivity and colo, and pretty much everything in between. ThinkOn was a part of our more recent, in June, we had a cloud services roadshow, and that roadshow included pretty much our main areas of focus for cloud services, and they're the main areas of focus because we have found that it is where our customers have requested the most assistance. Those areas were unified communications, backup, DR, and connectivity. And so ThinkOn was a big part of that. And in fact, it was a very successful roadshow, and many of our customers engaged with ThinkOn after that roadshow. And so as a part of that, I'm going to go into now a little bit about why ThinkOn is a trusted partner of CDW, and a little quick bio on Ken Manuja and his role with ThinkOn. But just to cover off on a couple of things, every time we talk about backup and DR in the cloud, often some of the things that come up as far as questions are concerned is about security, around certification if you're in healthcare or any kind of regulated industry. And from a certification standpoint, and I suppose from a sweet spot standpoint, ThinkOn's main areas of expertise are in backup, infrastructure as a service makes up a large percentage of their business, archiving and disaster recovery. We talk about return time objectives and service level agreements. These are all of the terminologies that come into play when we're looking at solutions around backup and DR. So again, definitely something that they can speak to. Hybrid infrastructure, data archiving, data protection, and DR, the main focus points for today. The certifications that ThinkOn hold are ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 2 certified, PCI compliant, HIPAA compliant. They are a vendor of record on the Canadian Government Cloud First Initiative list of vendors. They are VMware Cloud certified, and they are Veeam's first Platinum Cloud Service Partner in Canada. Okay, and today presenting for us we have Ken Manuja, as previously mentioned. He is the Inside Sales and Marketing Lead for ThinkOn. He's been helping ThinkOn channel partners better align their strategic solutions with their customers' goals. ThinkOn Services, since joining the company 2 years ago, he works directly or indirectly with over 100 partners, providing them with training, pre and pro-sale support, and marketing efforts to help evangelize cloud services that ThinkOn sells. So, without any further ado, I'd like to hand the time over to Ken, and you guys can get started on the real reason we're here today. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, James. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Ken, as James mentioned, and I've been with ThinkOn for 2 years. Today, we'll be talking about a lot of interesting solutions, keeping our focus on what your investments you have already made in the cloud or maybe on-premise, and how to leverage them basically so that you're not starting from scratch, and whatever investments you have made, let's look at a way through which we can leverage it in a better way. So what's being covered today is introduction of ThinkOn, our infrastructure, which we call ThoughtSpace, and the overarching categories in terms of what solutions we offer today, then how we work and align with Veeam, which is a big partner of ours, and with being the first Platinum partner and the biggest partner of Veeam Cloud Services in Canada, how we can leverage some of those certifications and technologies we have been working for past few years to help customers. And last but not the least is why someone should consider ThinkOn and any question and answers round. So let's move on to the introduction part, where I would like to bring in a short story, how we started, what we are, and how we are special. So ThinkOn company came into existence in 2013. This is our 6th year of operations. In Canada, we are a Canadian company with a North American reach. We have a data center in the US, and we'll be expanding at a couple more facilities by the end of the year. By this time, we have around 12 facilities across North America, and the reason why we are a little bit special is because we always been focusing on, coming up with solutions which are easy to understand for consumers, because that's one thing which a lot of consumers see in cloud, that it's cloudy out there. So you have to make sure that it's easy to understand for consumers who are the final or the end users of the solution. Second, which is very important point, is transparent pricing. And a lot of cloud subscribers out there today, they have hidden surprises which can hit you at the end of the month, and it can affect your IT budget. A lot of companies, they don't expect big bills, but it is part of the business that a lot of companies, they get hit by it. So with ThinkOn, can be rest assured, whatever pricing you see is what you pay for. There are no hidden surprises at the end of the month. And support, one big thing with all the ThinkOn solutions is that you get all the local Canadian support. We have support professionals available for you to get on call right away and take the issue firsthand and get it resolved. Involve the channel partners, involve the ISVs, whether it's Veeam, VMware, Commvault, Zerto, any of them. By having these partnerships and certifications, we get the premium level support, and this is what we offer to our customers. Moving on next, is just telling you more about what we have done, what we have achieved in past years. So our uptime or SLA is 4 nines, which we have been maintaining for past 4 years. And all of our workload we have today is 100% on production grade. And the enterprise infrastructure we have today, which is more than 60 to 70% of the business, is 92%. And as I mentioned about the facilities, we have 12 facilities today across North America. We'll be expanding a couple more by the end of the year. In terms of data size, we have 15 plus petabytes of data protected in all these facilities. And the annual churn rate we have, which is very, very low as compared to the industry standard, which stands somewhere between 3 to 5%. We are way below under 1%, like 0.33, and this number is actually going down, which is a great reflection of the service we offer and the SLAs we promise, we maintain those. And as you can see, some certifications which James mentioned to you, I would like to just, quickly go through them again, because we have worked really hard to achieve these certifications. And when it comes to consumers, they look at these certifications as a promise, which they can expect from the ThinkOn, and whether it's the ISP partner or the OEMs, to expect the level of service and the agreement which they have come to together and rely to, offer to consumers like yourself. Okay, here you can see a good picture of what ThinkOn is all about in one page. Like I said, that we always try to come up with solutions which are easy to understand. So all of our solutions we offer today are actually based off this infrastructure diagram. We call it the thought space, or you can call it a service delivery infrastructure of ThinkOn. And you can see that we have divided this infrastructure in 3 layers. First is the network layer, second is compute, and last is storage. So network, as you already know, is one big thing, that you have all the infrastructure in place, but how are you going to connect to the cloud? So we have multiple ways through which you can connect to the cloud. One most common way is internet. Others are point-to-point or NNIs. We have multiple carriers we support, whether it's Bell, Rogers, Telus, Cogent, Zayo, anyone, you name it, we have most of the carriers inbuilt in our data centers. So it's just a matter of, extending that connection to our facility and leveraging the cloud resources. Next layer, very important, which is compute. So for all those who are looking to move to the cloud and host their, applications there, compute is something which you need to run off the virtual machines or whether it's your physical servers. So we operate in 2 different flavors. A virtual side, which a lot of people call it public cloud or vCloud. So most of our stack is VMware based, but we support Hyper-V as well. And then on the dedicated side, it's more of a private cloud infrastructure where we give you a bare metal or a blade infrastructure, which is private to you. There are no more customers sitting on it, so you can play with it the way you want, build it the way you want, have different IPs, multiple configurations, and it goes with a lot of, security considerations your company might have today. And the last section which you see in the compute layer is Edge Connect. It's another word for co-location. So co-location is a big thing, today, because a lot of companies, they have legacy servers, they have physical firewalls, which they just can't get rid of, because your IT team is trained on it, a lot of infrastructure is running off it, so it's a big headache to, just get rid of it and buy something new, because that's what a lot of people will suggest. But as I mentioned, for ThinkOn, we want to leverage your existing investment so that you're not investing more, but leveraging more of what you have already invested. So here, the good thing and the secret sauce for ThinkOn is that you can bring in your physical servers, or you can bring in your firewalls, and then we can connect it either to your virtual data center, which is on the public cloud side, multi-tenant, or we can present it to your dedicated side, which is a bare metal or a private cloud infrastructure, which, is a really good thing, because if you have certain, infrastructure which you have already invested in, you can just bring it in, and it's, like-to-like comparison, and you can just run off of the cloud same way you were running on your on-premise. Last is the storage layer. So we offer different types of storage layer from tier 0 to object storage. Tier 0 is more on the flash side, where tier 1 is performance-based. Tier 2 is write optimized, where a lot of people store their backups on tier 2. And last is object store, which is a great service, and I'll be talking a little bit more about it later in the presentation. But just for now, this is S3 compliance, similar to Amazon S3. But the good thing about ThinkOn's object storage is that there's no ingress and egress charges. Like once again, reiterating to the value statement I mentioned earlier, that we have a very transparent pricing, meaning you don't commit for something here, you come on for a service and you pay what you see for. So with object storage, it's usage-based and it's S3 compliant. It can support from softwares like Commvault, Veritas, Cloudberry, Cloudera. If it can support S3, object storage is the right solution for you guys if you're looking just for a data archiving solution. And we have petabytes of data stored in object storage, and this number is growing every day. All right. Moving on, next is the ThinkOn solutions we have today. So for ThinkOn solutions, we have 4 overarching categories, from hybrid infrastructure, which is more on the public cloud, private cloud, or if you want a hybrid cloud where you can leverage both the features of public as well as private cloud. Next is the data archiving solutions, which is object storage. And like I mentioned earlier, Veeam Cloud Connect, one of the top-selling solutions which ThinkOn has today. And last is a Commvault data archiving solution. This can be used as a straight as backup as a service. You can back up physical, you can back up virtual servers, you can back up applications as you like. Third is the data protection solutions, which is highly popular these days. A lot of people, they look for Veeam backup solutions. In this solution, what we generally do is we back up your virtual machines who are running off in the public cloud, and we manage the backups for you. We maintain an 8-point retention policy, and suppose something happens in the production workload, so you can recover the virtual machine from the Veeam backup, which is already preserved in the ThinkOn cloud. Second, endpoint protection, which is a highly popular service among those who want to back up their laptops or endpoint devices like workstations. So this is a great service. You can have the Commvault plugin inbuilt and manage all your backups through that same console or same plugin. Last is the hosted Commvault backup server, which is once again a backup service and works seamlessly if you are a Commvault customer. Last is a DR solution, which is kind of a very important step in IT strategy. And a lot of companies, they are looking to build or looking to consider DR as a big aspect of their overall protection or overall IT budget today. So we have a couple of solutions with disaster recovery. One is Veeam Cloud Replication, which works seamlessly with Veeam solutions, and I'll be talking a little bit more about it later in the presentation. Last is a Zerto solution. So Zerto is one of the industry-leading DR softwares out there who can offer you RTOs and RPOs of minutes and seconds. So if you have applications which needs to be up and running and you can't bear a lot of downtime, Zerto is a great solution which you can consider. All right, let's talk about some Veeam numbers, since this is more about Veeam, ThinkOn, and CDW, and how we can leverage these 3 partners for you guys so that you can get the most out of your Veeam investments you've already made. So Veeam is a great company, one of the fastest growing backup and replication software out there in the market. In 2018, they have grown considerably fast, and as you can see, they have 300,000 plus customers today in 180 plus countries. One more fact which is not there is Veeam is adding more than 3,000 subscribers every day, which is a great number for a company which started a few years ago. And as you can see, a lot of Fortune 500, Global 2,000 companies trust Veeam. So there's a lot of trust building there, and definitely Veeam has maintained their Net Promoter Score, which is great in terms of industry average, which somewhere sits around 30 to 40. All right. So this is more of a ThinkOn evolution, not Veeam evolution, but it shows you a good picture of how ThinkOn is aligned with Veeam in terms of if Veeam comes up with an update, ThinkOn is always there to support it and be ready to provide to consumers who want to leverage it and use their existing investments which they've already made in the cloud. So as you can see, we started off in 2013. Since inception, we signed up a partnership with Veeam because we saw the opportunity here in Canadian market and in the overall North American market, with Veeam being such a great company, having great numbers and great growth rate. So we jumped on that boat, and as you can see, so far we are doing great with Veeam, achieving all those certifications and making sure that we have all these services in line if a subscriber is interested to purchase it. Next is the ThinkOn's Veeam solution portfolio. So today we have 4 solutions with Veeam. I'll be going a little bit in details with each solution, but just an overview of what each solution is if you don't know about it. So Veeam Cloud Connect, one of the top-selling solutions which Veeam and ThinkOn have today, is a straight offsite data backup solution. So if you already have Veeam in your on-premise infrastructure and want to leverage and have a cloud offsite copy, as Veeam promotes, you should have 3 copies of your data, 2 on-site on different medias and 1 offsite. So this is a great solution. Reason being, it works seamlessly with Veeam. Second is you get the same management console. You don't have to download any additional software or licensing to have this service enabled. It's just a great add-on to your existing Veeam service. Second is a replication. So this is more of a DR solution where your VMs or your files are being replicated on a snapshot basis, meaning if a disaster occurs, you can roll back in time whenever your last RTO was. And the beauty about this solution also is that this is managed through the same management console, meaning you get a single pane of glass to manage your on-premise infrastructure, off-site cloud backup, as well as off-site cloud DR if you know you are using all the 3 solutions. Last, or you can say the third solution and the most latest solution which Veeam came up was Veeam Office 365 Backup. So this is more directed towards, backing up your email data, and with version 2 release, now you can back up your OneDrive and SharePoint. So we have a lot of, good points to talk about, but I will be, not touching base on all of this webinar. But once again, like James mentioned, if you have more questions related to any of the services, reach out to your CDW rep, and we are happy to schedule a call with you, go over solution in detail, provide you a free trial, because we offer a free trial for most of our services. You can try and see if it works seamlessly for you, and then you can put the plug on it. Last is a Veeam hosted backup, which is more of a ThinkOn-based offering where we back up your virtual machines which are running off in our public cloud. And it's a great offering because you have production running in the cloud, whether it's VMware or Hyper-V. And what we can do for you is we can manage those backups, we can store those backups in a cloud in a secure location so that if production goes down, you still have a backup saved somewhere in the cloud which you can recover and run your applications and have your data back on premise. Right, moving on in a little bit details of why someone should consider Veeam Cloud Connect. So it's a hosted offsite backup solution, as I mentioned, and it works seamlessly for, whether it's virtual machines. And in 2017, Veeam came up with agents, which I'll be talking a little bit more about in the next slide, is that these agents, they allow you to back up to the cloud using the same Veeam Cloud Connect console, and whether it's a physical agent or workstation, Windows and Linux, you can install the agent on these servers and have them backed up to the cloud. Modern backup architecture, so Veeam has WAN acceleration built in with multiple retention policies to choose from, meaning as subscribers like yourself, you can decide if you're managing your backup infrastructure, how much retention, what restore points you want to keep in the cloud, meaning you have full control of the solution. And as a service provider, ThinkOn, you only see the amount of data you're putting in the cloud and the amount of machines you're backing up. So your data is secure, which is third point, is end-to-end subscription, whether it's on-site or at rest. And you, as a customer, hold the encryption key. So at any point in time, your data is safe, secure, and encrypted. The last but not the least is the complete visibility and control, which is once again, talking about the management console, a single pane of glass, which gives you features like, managing your backup, managing your on-premise infrastructure from the same backup and replication console. Second is touching base on the Veeam agents. We have physical server and workstation agents for Windows and Linux. So this is a new feature which Veeam came up in 2017. Earlier it was just for virtual machines. So if you want to back up your physical server and workstation, you can still do that with Veeam. And that's the good thing about this solution, that it covers all your needs, gives you a single pane of glass, and it's safe and secure. Last on Veeam Cloud Connect is a slide on how the solution actually works. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have the customer on-premise infrastructure, which is yourself. So you can have your VMware or Hyper-V host running off your VMs and physical workloads, workstations. Then you have a production storage, whether it's SAN or anything else which you have on-premise today. And then you can have multiple locations. We have customers who are backing up to multiple locations and then sending off an off-site backup copy to the cloud. meaning this is a third copy and you can restore it in case your on-premise infrastructure is not available. Might be a natural disaster, a human error, but still rest assured your data is safe in the cloud and you can restore it whenever you want it. All right. Next on the list we have cloud replication. So Veeam Cloud Replication also works very seamlessly, once again, with the Veeam solutions, and that's the good thing about Veeam and ThinkOn. It's simple, safe, and secure. So first point, which I would like to cover off with Veeam Cloud Replication, is fast and flexible failover, meaning you can have physical and virtual backups offsite through a secure SSL connection. So Veeam offers secure SSL and built-in WAN acceleration for all these solutions. Streamlined failback, meaning you can fail back to the alternative host or the same machine or in the cloud, depending what you need and what you want at the time of disaster. Recovery assurance with Veeam, rest assured, there is zero to minimal data loss with Veeam. Because such being a great company, they have maintained a reputation in the market. So with Veeam, you can always expect that the data loss in case of a DR is going to be minimal. Seamless integration is, again, talking about the management console, which I've been reiterating a few times here, is that you get a single pane of glass to manage everything there. Next is the behind the scenes of VCR, how the solution actually works. Once again, very simple infrastructure, very simple diagram to understand what is actually happening behind the scenes. So once again, you have your on-premise infrastructure, whether it's VMware, Hyper-V, and you have your production host. What you can do is you can send your you can use VCR to send your replication or replica copies onto the cloud, which is ThinkOn infrastructure. And in case of a disaster, what happens is you already have a failback or failover plan built in, because when you are setting up a Veeam Cloud Replication solution, it allows you to build a failover plan. And one good thing about Veeam is you can build multiple failover plans. So in one failover plan, you can have one virtual machine, or in the second one, you can have your full infrastructure. So it's up to you. As a customer, you get all these privileges, you get all these features and benefits of Veeam, so that you maintain full control of your infrastructure, whether it's on-premise or on cloud. Last and the most latest service of Veeam is why backup your email data, which is more directed towards backing up your Office 365 data, Exchange, email, OneDrive, and SharePoint are new features which came up recently with the version 2 release, meaning now your email data, which is highly recommended by, in terms of compliance and legal issues, that you need to have your emails backed up. So this is a great service which Veeam came up, and this is getting highly popular in terms of, because it's very easy to consume and scale with ThinkOn. We offer different retention periods, like a 1-year retention, 3-year retention, and forever retention. And you can meet different compliance needs and different security needs and have a backup of your email data somewhere in the cloud, which you can restore in case something goes wrong on-premise. So regulatory exposure, I already touched based on that. Seamless security. So once again, with Veeam, if there's a human error, if there's an IT guy in your team who deleted an email by mistake and it's out from your inbox, from your sent items, from your junk folder, still, if you have a backup of it sitting in the cloud, we'll be able to restore it back for you. You can back up either a single email or you can restore a full email box depending on what the error was. Control your data. So once again, with email data, it is important, as I mentioned, and having control, make sure that you are in full control of your data. You can decide the restore point, you can change the retention policy, and you can go for a custom duration if you like. Prevent data loss. With Veeam, you expect 0 to none data loss, meaning you are mitigating all the risks which might happen to your critical data or production workload data. So just a little touch point on how the solution actually works is you have your Office 365 and then you have your Veeam backup for Office 365, which is attached to a backup repository, which is somewhere sitting on one of the ThinkOn facilities, and then the restore options which you can have with Veeam Office 365 backup service is you can either get it back as an email attachment, it can be exported to you as .tsc file, or it can be saved as a file and send it back to you in a hard drive if you like. So there are multiple restore options which make this service very interesting, because email data is getting critical day by day and people are looking into backing it up on the cloud, because you have to meet all those compliances and security considerations because most of the business is running off of emails these days. Now I have some touch points on why someone should consider Veeam and why ThinkOn together. So we're the first Veeam Platinum partner, and we became Platinum partnership in 2017. So it's been over a year, and we're trying to maintain that we have a lot of Veeam professionals, Veeam certified engineers on premise today, which can support your request if something goes wrong, which can help you provide consultation if you're confused which solution you need to go forward with, and can help you build a strong strategy alongside Veeam or any other solutions we discussed today. We are the Canada's largest Veeam Cloud Connect repository with a very consistent growth of 85% from year to year, and we maintain a complete cloud portfolio, meaning we offer all these solutions which Veeam has to offer for cloud providers today in the market. And like I said, I showed you the evolution slide where you can see how ThinkOn is keeping up with Veeam's updates. So we are definitely there. If Veeam comes up with a new service, you will be the first one to hear from ThinkOn. Trusted Advisor is a great thing you should consider because it shows how much involved we are with Veeam and how much Veeam respects the partnership we have built in the past 4 to 5 years, that we have a seat on Veeam Partner Advisory Board, and there are only 10 partners in the world who have this feature, meaning when a new update is coming up, we get to know 6 months in advance, and as our customers, we let them know that whether they have to update something or whether there's a new feature coming up, so that customers are prepared and they can leverage most out of the partnership they have or the trust they have in the ThinkOn team. Certifications. Once again, we have ISO SOC 2 Type 2 certified, and in terms of compliance, we have PCI and HIPAA compliance, which are great certs and great compliance to have, because if you have secure data, protected data, or data like credit card numbers or stuff, then you need to have these compliances in place according to rules and regulations to store the data on cloud. Right. So in conclusion, I would like to share a couple of things before I hand it off to James here, is that it's cloudy out there, and we want to part the clouds and have a clear sky for the customers, meaning there's a lot of hype in terms of hypercloud, but we know what we are doing. So definitely, if you have any questions related to cloud, whether it's backup, archiving, data protection, then what you have to do is just reach out to your CDW account manager, and they can help you part the cloudy skies and provide a clear path. And now I would let James to take it off from here, and then he can close it off from here.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Again, appreciate each and every one of you for logging on today. As previously mentioned, there will be a copy of this webinar. If you would wish to request a copy, just reach out to your account manager. In addition, we'll hand over to Daniel here to go over some questions and answers, which we haven't done yet. So we'll hand that back over. But anyway, that being said, basically, if you're interested in anything that's been discussed here today by Ken and ThinkOn, please contact the CW account manager, and we're more than happy to engage, get a call going. As Ken said, I think the demo sells itself. Proof of concept is always important when making a major or dynamic shift in the way that you do things internally, whether it be backup, DR, or anything else for that matter. But just quickly to address a couple of questions. Ken, did we get some questions there on the line throughout the webinar?
Yes, we have a few questions. So
okay, I see one here from a Robert.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This first question we have is, do I need to buy additional licensing from Veeam if I'm buying any of the cloud services from CDW and ThinkOn? So the answer is no, you don't have to buy any additional licensing. If you already have Veeam backup and replication enabled on your side and you're using it for your on-premise backup infrastructure, you don't need any additional licensing from ThinkOn side or the CDW side to enable it. It's just the enablement fee and the storage which you need on the cloud side to back up and replicate. For replication, it's a little bit different. You need to have a hardware plan built in because it's a DR solution. But for backups, it's just straight storage and the enablement fee. That's all you need from the ThinkOn side. And it's more of, just enabling the features which are already built in your Veeam backup and replication software.
Excellent, thank you for that one. I think that comes up a lot actually in conversations with customers because licensing is in such a flux. right now for many different companies, and there's confusion around on-premise licensing versus cloud licensing versus how I purchase my cloud and how I need to license. And so that's a good question, Robert. Thank you for that. Next question is from a Joanna. Can you read that one out for us, Ken?
Yeah. So next question is, what is the difference between public cloud and private cloud, and what are some of the benefits which customers can leverage if they are already a VMware partner? So great question. Thank you, Joanna. So the answer is, the difference between public and private cloud is, in public cloud, it's more on a multi-tenant site. We build a virtual data center depending on the resources you need. We give you the required compute power, required storage, and provide you with a firewall. You can bring in your own firewalls, but generally what we prefer is a PSN, which is an open source firewall. And then what we do is we give you access to the vCloud and vCenter. So what happens is that if you're already a VMware partner, you know these tools, you're pretty much aware of how the technology works. So you're leveraging the same tools to managing your cloud infrastructure. You can build off your VMs, whether it's Windows, Linux, or any other OS, and run it off from the cloud so that, it's always available. It maintains a 24/7 availability. And the good thing about private cloud is that you have your private infrastructure built in, so you can play it the way you want. You can have multiple IPs, different networking configurations, meet all those compliance needs. And you can always bring in your VMware licensing, which is a good thing about ThinkOn, VMware services, that if you already have VMware licensing, feel free to bring it on, and that we can put it on the private cloud. So you're not spending, twice on the licensing side, which is once again a very confusing thing. But that's the good thing about ThinkOn, that we let you bring your own license so that you don't have to buy additional licensing, and you're leveraging your existing investments.
Perfect. Beautiful. Sorry, do we have one more question?
Yeah.
That must have just come up. I missed that. Do you have it there, Ken? Do you have it in front of you? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Guys, I have another one here. So can I choose the location where my data will reside, and what if I want to visit the data center facility? Is that possible? Great question. So yes, with ThinkOn, we give you this flexibility that you can choose where your data will reside, whether it's GTA Toronto, whether it's Quebec, Calgary. So ThinkOn has multiple facilities, as I mentioned, across the border from coast to coast. So you can decide. We are very flexible with it. We always give you options in terms of what options are available, in terms of what service you decide to go forward with. You can decide which facility you want your data to reside in, and we can absolutely schedule a data center visit with proper advance notice, and you can see and touch and feel the atmosphere where your data is going to reside, which is a great thing to maintain the Canadian sovereign laws and regulations.
Awesome. I know that one comes up a lot. Nearly every time we speak, we talk to Canadian customers. Data sovereignty, data residency comes under a few different headings, but it is always a topic of interest for most customers. And as far as CDW is concerned, most of our value is brought through our agnostic landscape, and I suppose customers that we bring are always going to want to understand the pros and cons of one versus the other. Regarding cloud, we always like to bring a good mix of market leaders from a North American perspective, but also a really healthy portfolio of Canadian companies that are offering Canadian solutions in Canadian data centers and Canadian networks. Typically, when it comes to data, those things are always going to be encrypted in transit and at rest. But that is a question you should always ask. Is my data encrypted in transit and at rest, and does it ever leave Canada? And I think that comes up a lot. Anyways, moving along now to close out. Again, any further questions, please forward to your CDW account manager. If you're looking for an engagement demo, proof of concept, again, engage your CDW account manager. I hope you enjoyed the second series in our digital transformation webinar series. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one.